So friends, we continue to monitor the events on the front lines of Ukraine and Russia as well as the news. As of today, the situation on the front remains difficult. The Russians have made a decision to advance, forcing the Ukrainian armed forces to change their counteroffensive plans. Therefore, battles are currently taking place along almost the entire front line. But before we begin, please like, subscribe to the channel and don't forget to hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Let's start with the Bakhmut direction. According to unofficial information, the Ukrainian forces are gradually advancing here. The Russians are conducting intense shelling and even launching attacks to dislodge the Ukrainian forces from their positions. They have also launched attacks in 4 directions: Verkhivka, Bogdanivka, Khromove and Bakhmut. There are reports from various sources claiming that Verkhivka is under Ukrainian control. However, in reality, the Russians are still advancing there, so unfortunately there hasn't been much progress in this area. We can see that the Russians continue to advance on the outskirts of Avdiivka. They are shelling along the entire front line. Further south in Marinka, the fighting continues without any breaks. In the direction of Vuhledar, the Russians have increased the number of shelling and are trying to target as many objects as possible. They are actively conducting reconnaissance to find out when the Ukrainian forces will launch their next breakthrough. The situation is tense, but the Ukrainian forces haven't yet initiated any new offensive operations and the situation remains unchanged. In the Zaporizhia direction, everything is stable along the front line. The number of shelling is decreasing, no offensive actions are being carried out, and the front line remains unchanged. Today it has been reported that the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant has restored power supply from the main transmission line. This indicates that the plant is gradually resuming its operations and the probability of explosions is decreasing. In the Kherson direction, the situation remains difficult as the Russians are shelling both the right and left banks, destroying all the villages near the front. However, the Ukrainian forces are holding their positions and the Russians claim that, according to the intelligence reports, the Ukrainian forces are planning to transfer their equipment and launch an offensive on the left bank. Therefore, the Russians are attempting to save the situation through shelling, but so far they have been unsuccessful and the situation remains under the control of the Ukrainian forces. Also, during the night, the enemy launched an attack on the Dnipropetrovsk region using Shahed drones. The debris from one of them fell on a car traveling on the road, resulting in the unfortunate death of 2 individuals. The dry grass caught fire, but firefighters extinguished the fire. Another unmanned aerial vehicle targeted a private enterprise in the Kryvyi Rih district, causing a fire. The flame engulfed an area of over 100 square meters and reached a height of 4 meters. However, the State Emergency Service has already brought the situation under control and no one was injured. In the Lugansk direction, it is also unsettled. The Russians continue their attacks on 2 settlements in the Svatove area, namely Novosilivske, and are moving towards Novogrigorivka. There have been no changes along the front line in the past day, so we are waiting to see how these battles will unfold. It is evident that the Russians want to quickly push back the front line to prevent any counteroffensive. After that, they can continue seizing Ukrainian territory from more advantageous positions. However, we know that the Ukrainian armed forces are following their plan, so the battles continue and Ukrainian soldiers are doing everything they can to hold the front line without any changes. In the Crimea and Siversk area, after the Russian successful advance of 4 kilometers yesterday, there have been no new changes along the front line. Offensive actions have been temporarily halted and only shelling continues. In the Zaporizhia area, the Russians continue their shelling, but the intensity has decreased and no offensive actions are being carried out. However, there are renewed explosions on Russian territory. Yesterday, there were reports of explosions heard over Belgorod. Unfortunately, there are no details yet, but the Russians waste no time and continue to shell the border villages on the Chernihiv, Sumy and Kharkiv regions. However, the news from the Russian side doesn't end there. In Chapaevka, Samara region, there was an explosion at Promsyntes plant which produces explosives. As a result of the explosion, 6 people died and 2 were injured. It occurred during the dismantling of a technical pipeline, according to TASS. There were no subsequent fires. Russian telegram channels report that there was an explosion of a pipe supplying nitrogen to the building. President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky traveled to Slovakia after his visit to Bulgaria and the Czech Republic yesterday. The head of state announced this on his Twitter account as reported by European Truth. Next stop, Slovakia. Important meetings in Bratislava with President Zuzana Chaputova, Prime Minister Ludovit Odor and Chairman of the National Council Boris Kolar, Zelensky tweeted. According to him, the meetings will focus on concrete defense support, Ukraine's Euro-Atlantic integration, the NATO summit, the peace formula, bilateral cooperation and energy security. Volodymyr Zelensky visited Bulgaria early in the day on Thursday and then headed to the Czech Republic in the evening. And that's all from me. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.